Hello, I'm Tammy Green, and this is your Week in Forex from UFXBank. Today we will review last week's market highlights. We will discuss again the status of Greece's economy and its effect on the suffering euro. Greek bonds have continued to drop, which is creating an even more severe situation in Europe and forcing the 16-nation union to devise a sustainable bailout plan. Politics in England continue to push down the pound against the dollar, as hope for a strong government that can deal with the UK's financial burdens is important for the pound to stay strong. China continues to create concern for countries such as the United States as the yuan rises. Many still wonder if Canada is able to sustain the loonie's strong parity with the USD. Today we will review these and more issues with financial analyst Martin Smith. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Tammy.
Okay, Martin, before we dig in, tell us, has Greece defaulted?
No, at least not yet, it hasn't. Investor sentiment for the euro is very skeptical at this point, as the continuing erosion of the Greek economy is pushing the euro down further and further. Greek bonds have continued to drop for over a week, which is driving the 10-year yield premium to German bonds to the most since the euro's debut. In the short run, the persistence of alarming risk spreads will lead to even more cautious behavior among depositors and investors.
How is the ECB reacting? Where is the refinancing rate right now?
Well, the ECB held the rate at 1%, and it's expected that this may be the rate till the end of the year.
Why has the pound fallen 6% against the dollar this year?
Well, this is mainly because of speculation that the upcoming elections will not be successful in producing a government that will be able to truly tackle and deal with the UK's record budget deficit. Prime Minister Gordon Brown's ruling Labour Party closed within 5 percentage points of the opposition Conservatives, a result that would make his Labour Party the largest bloc after the May 6th election.
The yen has shown quite a bit of strength recently. Could you tell us a little bit about the Japanese currency?
Yeah, it has shown a lot of strength against a backdrop of ever-increasing risk aversion, which is connected to the ongoing sovereign debt uncertainties. It's also gained on the speculation that China will continue to allow the yuan to appreciate, which gives Japan scope for allowing its currency to rise. We discussed the yuan a bit in the last few weeks, if you remember.
Speaking of China, has there been any more pressure put on the Chinese economy about the inflation problem they're facing?
Well, there are rumors that a modification of China's exchange rate policy may happen in the very near future. Last week, Timothy Geithner met with Chinese Vice President Wang Qishan in Beijing. It's expected that the yuan exchange rate issue may become clear after the US-China strategic and economic dialogue. Now, many people inside of China believe that opening the yuan bond markets up to foreign investors and that Chinese banks and companies should issue more yuan bonds offshore.
Has there been any news with the loonie? Does it look like it's going to reach parity with USD and be able to sustain it?
The Canadian dollar declined a bit against the US dollar after having reached parity for a few days. This was primarily brought on by speculation that the Bank of Canada will accelerate interest rate increases. It's expected that the CAD will continue to strengthen over the long term. Even as much as a 5 or 10-year view, its trading through parity is very sustainable.
What other economic factors are influencing the Canadian economy right now?
Well, in Canada this past March, employers added 26,000 jobs after an addition of 20,900 positions becoming available the previous month. Now, it's very possible that policymakers will raise the benchmark overnight lending rate to 1.25% by the end of this year. Now, this is compared to the weighted average forecast of 0.75% for the US benchmark rate. Now, if Canada takes a more aggressive approach with their rates, this will surely benefit the loonie.
Can you give us some technicals for Canada's currency?
Well, after the loonie dropped below the last bottom at 100.60, it made its final stop at 0.9970, reversing to the upside and showing a dodgy candlestick. This occurred last Tuesday, and we saw a hammer formation on Wednesday. Now, if we consider the diversion that the loonie has shown basically only on the daily chart, it's highly probable that it will bottom and rally to the upside towards the range between, say, 101.50 and 102.50, and this will act as a resistance line. Now, a close above 102.50 will change the trend to bullish after having a higher high and a higher low from the last bottom that the loonie recorded last week. Now, The correlation between the CAD and crude has remained very positive. So if we see a correction in the price of crude oil, it may support the bullish momentum of the pair.
Well, thank you, Martin, for joining us again this week. Until next week, I'm Tammy, and be sure to visit us at UFXBank.com for simple, safe, and secure trading. Also, you can now follow us on Twitter and Facebook and submit your own questions to our weekly broadcasts. Please email your questions to Martin Smith at askthebroker@UFXBank.com.